welcome to the show. My name is Naeem Sharif, and this is the Al Islam and Community Issues program. Today we want to talk about the background of the symbol of the Black Panther. So there's this symbol, we see it today. There's a movie out called The Black Panther. There was from a comic book from back in the late 60s. And there's also the symbol for the Black Panther Party. And there was also the symbol of the Black Panther in the Deacons for Defense. So I want to start you off with the background of the Black Panther in World War II. The 761st Tank Battalion was an African-American tank unit. Their patch that they wore on the side of their uniform was the Black Panther. Their motto was "Come Out Fighting." The most famous member of that unit was First Lieutenant Jackie Robinson. During the training of the 761st Battalion, a white bus driver told Jackie Robinson to move to the back of the bus. Mr. Robinson refused, and they wanted to court-martial him. So there's a long story about that, but to get to it, they acquitted him of all charges. Some of the awards that this unit won was the Presidential Unit Citation, Medal of Honor 1, Purple Hearts 296 with eight clusters, Silver Stars 11, Bronze Stars 69. The countries that they fought in were France, Belgium, the Netherlands, Luxembourg, Germany, and Austria. So you can imagine, of course, if you know the history, that the different troops, the white troops and the black troops, were segregated, meaning they were apart. So we've all heard about the Tuskegee Airmen and their performance, and how at first the white pilots didn't want them, but when they found how good they were and that they didn't lose planes, they all always requested the Tuskegee Airmen. So it's good to know this history, where this symbol, the Black Panther, came from. So like I said, in World War II. So let's move on to the next symbol, the Black Panther, the Deacons for Defense and Justice. On July 10th, 1964, a group of African-American men in Jonesboro, Louisiana, led by Ernest Chilly Willie Thomas and Frederick Douglass Kirkpatrick, founded the group. So this group was in the South. They protected black folks from the Ku Klux Klan and provided protection for blacks registering to vote. Their symbol was the Black Panther. So if you think about it, this was a group of black folks defending themselves in the South in the early 60s against a vicious, racist system in the South, and also in the North, but you definitely know about the history in the South. So their symbol was the Black Panther. And it was a political party also to help, there was another form of this that used the Black Panther symbol to help register people to vote. And it was a party. Just like you have the Republican Party has a symbol of the elephant, and the Democratic Party has a symbol of the donkey. And there's a lot of symbolism in that, but that's definitely for another show. But the party that was helping people to register to vote, their symbol was the Black Panther. So the next phase of this, the symbol of the Black Panther, is with the Black Panther Party. And they got that symbol from the Deacons for Defense. And they used that because they wanted to have a symbol for their political party. The Black Panther Party was started in Oakland, California in 1966 by Bobby Seale and Huey P. Newton. Some of the things that, and we'll talk about, we'll go over some of the pictures that a lot of people just think of the self-defense part of the Black Panther Party or being armed. That was one of the things. The first program that they started was patrolling police. And what they would do, they would ride around in cars and watch the police and make sure that the police didn't brutalize the people. So they would have their shotguns or whatever and their law books, and they would follow the law. They knew they had to be so many feet from the police when the police were doing whatever they were doing, their business, their procedure, whatever, and the Black Panther Party was there to monitor that. Because as it was back then, today, there was a lot of police brutality. So, you know, people might have a problem with that, but if you haven't lived this experience, you know, you can't really appreciate it. One of the things several things, the Black Panther Party started the free breakfast program, free medical clinic, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. But it also, that's not talked about that much, the Black Panther Party was definitely in the black communities across the United States. But they also formed coalitions. They formed coalitions with the American Indian movement called AIM, the Brown Berets, the Chicanos, the Young Lords, Puerto Ricans, the Red Guard, the Chinese, and the Young Patriot Party, which were poor whites. So this was a coalition. And a person who really helped to form that was Fred Hampton. Fred Hampton helped form those coalitions. And their coalition was Fred Hampton called it the Rainbow Coalition, long before Jesse Jackson and Bush, etc. So the Black Panther Party came to engage in working relationships with other people also, long before it was popular. Formed coalitions with people with disabilities, in partnership with the Center for Independent Living with seniors, and in the creation of, believe it or not, the Gray Panthers, and with environmental groups and working in the community. It was also the International Liberation Struggle formed coalitions with them. Now I want to go over to the board and we want to talk about some of the things that was formed. And this is locally some of the things for the Seattle chapter of the Black Panther Party, which is getting ready to mark their 50th anniversary, April 26th to the 28th, 2018. And it'll be at Langston Hughes and Washington Hall. And the website is www.seattlebpp50.com. So even after this 50th anniversary is over with, still check the website because there are plans to help people in the community to do certain projects and so forth. So the theme for the Black Panther Party, and the theme is all power to the people. And here we're talking about all power to the people, remembering the Seattle Black Panther Party. I want to go to some of these pictures. Here is the People's Wall, and it's in the central area. It's they're going to try to make an historical, site there, and it is, shows some of the pictures of, Black Panther Party members. There is another picture here, and I don't know if that could be zoomed in very good, dedicated to the fallen Seattle Black Panther, Sidney Miller, Butch Armstead, Albert Postal, Larry Ward, Lewis Jackson, Maud Allen, Carolyn Downs, Henry Boyer, and Jim Groves. These people were the fallen people of the Seattle Black Panther Party. Talking about the free medical clinic was established by Sidney Miller, and then later on, Carolyn Downs helped really push it off even more, and that is named after her. And that is part of the Odessa Brown Clinic in Seattle that's still operating today. So the free medical clinic was before Obamacare and a lot of these other things that in the healthcare system came, that the Panthers recognized that this was something that was needed. So this was done here in Seattle. And moving on, and I don't know how good you can see this particular picture. One of these programs were called survival programs. Black Panther Party was known for revolutionary ideas, but as Huey P. Newton said, the people weren't ready for revolution. So they would need a survival program. So these things like the free medical clinic, the free breakfast program, is where the Panthers would feed children in the morning before they went to school. It was at Atlantic Street Center. It was at High Point in West Seattle. It was at Madrona Presbyterian Church in the central area, and a few others. There were about 5 locations. And the Panthers would feed children before they went to school, because they found out that a lot of children weren't getting a good breakfast before they went to school. So all the people now who are benefiting from the free breakfast program and so forth, the government saw that this group of black folks, young black folks, were feeding children. And this was really something that the FBI, J. Edgar Hoover, I would say, J. Edgar Hoover, he didn't like that. He didn't like that because this was feeding the people, and they were upset with that, and they tried to sabotage the program. They would follow the Panthers when they went to go pick up the food and when they went to cook the food. They did all kind of tactics to stop this program from happening. But if you're benefiting from that government doing that, the Panthers, Black Panther Party, set this off. There was a free busing program to the prisons to provide busing so people could go see their loved ones in the prisons and so forth. Let's go back to, this was some of the sisters here, this picture here. So the women were very important in the Black Panther Party, very, very important. They did a lot of work. And what I'm noticing today is, if I look at some of the black student unions in the high schools in the Puget Sound area, most of the people who are involved in it are the women, the young women. So that's interesting, which is great, but I think that the young men have to step up and help in that area of the BSUs and in other areas. So like I said, the Black Panther Party, they had women involved, and they had a major role. We had one sister who was a nurse, and she had also carried a shotgun, so she was a bad sister. She was bad. This next picture, and I have a bigger picture of this. Well, we'll just do this one here. I don't know how good they can see this. This picture here was at the first office of the Seattle Black Panther Party, right on 34th and Union. And this was in front of the office, and here are some of the members outside. When the Panthers started in 1968, how it started was that Aaron and Elmer Dixon and a few other people went down to San Francisco. They were establishing a Black Student Union. So they went down, they heard Bobby Seale speak, and then they also attended the funeral of Bobby Hutton. He was the first Black Panther killed. So they came back, they wanted to start Black Panther chapter. And so Bobby Seale came up, talked to him. They started the first chapter outside of California was in Seattle, Washington. This next picture, and I'll hold this one up. This one, a lot of people say that this picture, they think it's in California, because the Panthers went to the state capitol in California to express their rights for the Second Amendment. As we all know, it's okay for Caucasians to express their right for the Second Amendment. The NRA, everybody, will get behind them. But when black folks pick up for self-defense, then there's an issue. So in '66, the Oakland Panthers went to Sacramento and they had a demonstration. But this picture here is from 1969 in Olympia, Washington. And first person over here is Anthony Ware, then Brother Clark, Wayne Jenkins, Elmer Dixon, Steve Phillips, and myself at that time known as Warren Myers, but now Naeem Sharif, AKA Warren Myers. So there's a little story about this that I always tell. about this. And the story on this, look at me at the end. I was trying to be incognito because I have my sunglasses on and shotgun in front of my face. And the reason I did that is because I didn't want my mother to know that I missed school that day, because that was a school day. So I didn't want to catch it from her. But we were there to express our right to bear arms, and Aaron Dixon, the captain, was inside talking to the legislator. And like I said, there's only a problem really when African Americans pick up the gun. You know, they are for self-defense. It's just like the Deacons of, you know, self-defense back down in the South, and the Panthers adopted that method to protect ourselves. So some of the things in the fall of what we talked about in 1966, it started in Oakland, and we talked about Aaron and Elmer Dixon with Larry Gossett went down to the Black Student Union in San Francisco. And it was interesting that when the Seattle Black Panther Party started, it started, and I guess after the first month or two, about 300 people joined. So it was, you know, it was quite something that all these people joined. But there was a lot of people, and we had to. There were certain things you had to do. One of the things you had to do was to do so much reading, and you also need to know what the community needed. So this is just some of the things. The thing on this is that, like I said, we're having the 50th anniversary. It's April 26th through the 28th at Langston Hughes and Washington Hall. That's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 2018. But after all that event is over, we're going to try to do some things to help the community. And I'm going to, we talked about the sisters, or this particular picture here was at a funeral here, one of the Panthers. And you know, the brothers there were in formation and everything like that. So this is just some of the small history of the Seattle Black Panther Party. And the main thing I would try to remind folks is, yes, we were about self-defense. The Deacons for defense, you know, set the standard. And like I said, their symbol was the Black Panther. And the tank battalion, they set the standard. So they all used that symbol of the Panther. Some of the other things that, we talked about, the survival programs. The first one was established was the police patrols. And we talked about the free breakfast program, free medical clinic. There was also a free ambulance service. So you know how much ambulance costs if you ever had to use one. They're very, very expensive. There was sickle cell anemia testing. When the Panthers saw a need, they tried to fill it. And they saw that, you know, we were having this issue with sickle cell, so they did testing. And even today, their research has helped people even today concerning sickle cell anemia. There was also the free clothing that we gave. They gave out free clothing and free shoes, and also free groceries. These were just some of the things that the Panthers did. The other thing is, we know that this movie is coming out, Black Panther, and it's very interesting. The comic book came out, I forget the year, but maybe around 1967, or even maybe late 1966 or 68. And it showed this African prince, and he was a superhero, and he was called the Black Panther. And it was just very interesting that the person who created this character named it that, especially here in America with the Black Panther Party, you know, catching hell from the FBI and police departments and all these things. It's just interesting that they use that particular symbol. And like I said, now the movie's coming out. There's a lot of hype about it, which is good, which I understand a lot of African Americans are looking forward to it, because in so many instances, we don't see ourselves in a positive light. So if you don't see yourself in a positive light, you know, things start to mess with your psychic, your self-worth. So that's why I think people are really, excited about this and pushing it, because it's going to show somebody, who, is not a step it and fetch it and, not grinning all the time, but someone who's serious, someone who is a king, someone, you could also call him a chief, someone who is intelligent, rich, and he has superpowers, and he looks like, like you, if you're, African American or African. So this is why I think some of the, the excitement about that, which is good. One thing also we need to do is make our own heroes, but it's a start. It's good. There's been other black superheroes, Blade, Wesley Snipes starred as him, and there's others out there. But this one has got a lot of build-up, and hopefully it will inspire. Because a lot of times, even when countries form, they form on a mythology. I believe Rome, their mythology, it was two young boys who were raised by wolves. And so this mythology, even though it's not real, it gives the people, encouragement and things of this nature. Just like in Greece, they have a mythology that helped to develop them and so forth and so on. So, mythology serves its purpose, as long as you know it's mythology. One of the other things that, some of the things at the 50th anniversary that's happening is going to be workshops, and I think there's about 12 workshops. There'll be presentations. There'll be special guest speakers. I don't know who they are right now, but we're hoping for the best. There'll be films. There'll be exhibits, hip-hop concert. There'll be a play performance, and then there'll be an anniversary celebration dinner. So all of these things will be part of the 50th anniversary. And then after, when the 50th anniversary, there are plans to help support, the youth and different other activities after all the anniversary is over. So if you see this particular show that we're doing and all the events have already happened, keep checking with the website or ask some people that you know about, what are the plans. Speaking on that, when we were at the Martin Luther King event at Garfield High School in Seattle, people were saying, well, you Panthers, y'all should start up again. And, because of time, the same things that you guys were doing, back then, the same situations are happening. And that's true. But you have to look at it, these are different times. There are different things that need to, be done differently. So I would say take the best that the Black Panther Party had to offer and use them, work with other people who are like-minded and use those things. But when you say the Black Panther Party should do it again, you'd have to realize what would be the consequences. You see now the political climate, you see the police force, you see Homeland Security and all these type of things. Are you willing to go through that? Are you willing to go through going to jail, going to prison? Are you willing to get killed? So if you say you want to restart up the Black Panther Party, then there are things, are you willing to do? And like I said, the party, showed some solutions and some ways to deal with different things. And we're seeing the same thing today that we saw back there in the 60s and the 70s. We saw Ronald Reagan, they want to make him to be this great president, he was an actor, a B actor, and he acted. They gave him the script, he read the script, We saw what trickle-down economics did, and it just put the country in a bad way. We saw where Social Security, I don't know if it was him or Nixon, where people used to get their Social Security and it wasn't taxed. Now it's taxed. So you're going to get your Social Security, you've already paid it, but you're going to get taxed twice. So this is a trickle down. It doesn't help the, the average man and woman of the United States. So those are some of the things you have to consider. Like I said, if you want to start, people say start the Black Panther Party. Now there are some groups who claim to be the new Black Panther Party. Elmer Dixon had a talk with some of those brothers, and they responded very well, and they formed their own group. And as we said, form your own group. There was 2 guys years ago that said they were the new Black Panther Party, and they were silly. They were silly. And Fox News picked up on them, 2 guys, and they just said, well, this is the new Black Panther Party, blah, blah. And they were just, they didn't know what the hell they were doing, So study up on the history. And in closing, I just want to say, about a minute and a half, that it's interesting, students in Finland, Sweden, and other European countries, they know more about the Black Panther Party than students in the United States. One of the things, they don't teach that much about the Black Panther Party in the schools, if anything, because usually on Black History Month, you'll hear about Martin Luther King a lot, and you might hear a little about Malcolm, you might hear about George Carver, and a few other people, but not much. And they might mention the Black Panther Party, and they might mention the Nation of Islam, but not much. So it's just interesting, quick story. When Elmer Dixon, who was the co-founder of Black Panther Party, he was going to this school in Seattle to talk about the Black Panther Party. So one of the students, was a black kid and a white kid. The white kid said, "Are you Elmer Dixon?" "Yeah." He said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, you Black Panther Party?" "Yeah." So the black kid says, "Well, is the Black Panther Party like the Ku Klux Klan?" No way, very the opposite. We did things to help the people and to get our rights. So there's a lot of work to be done about the history of the Black Panther Party, and we hope that you're able to come out to the event and keep checking the website even after the event is over. And as we always say, power to the people. Thank you all very much for watching. Thank you for your time. Peace and prayers. Thank you.